Hello Arsenal fans and welcome back to the channel. There is a lot happening around Arsenal right now and tonight we have several major stories to bring you. Arsenal have started their Premier League title defence with an impressive 3-0 victory over Coventry City. But despite the positive result on the pitch, there is plenty of drama happening behind the scenes. One of the biggest stories concerns Gabriel Martinelli. The Brazilian winger was left out of Arsenal's squad for the opening Premier League match, despite making more than 50 appearances last season and playing an important role in the team that won the Premier League title. And now former Arsenal striker Ian Wright has publicly expressed his concern about the way Martinelli is being treated. But Martinelli is not the only major story. Arsenal have also completed the signing of Ezri Konsa from Aston Villa in a deal reported to be worth around £55 million. There is also a major injury concern surrounding Bruno Gyokeres, while Arsenal continue to explore the possibility of signing another world-class striker. And two names are dominating that conversation: Julian Alvarez and Victor Osimhen. So in this video we're going through everything: Martinelli's situation, the new defensive signing, the injury update, the striker race, and what could happen before the transfer window closes. Let's get straight into it. Let's begin with the biggest talking point. Gabriel Martinelli's future at Arsenal is becoming increasingly uncertain. The Brazilian winger was left out of the squad for Arsenal's Premier League opener against Coventry City. And this wasn't the first time. Martinelli was also absent from Arsenal's squad for the Community Shield victory over Manchester City. That has naturally created questions about his position within Mikel Arteta's squad. Remember, Martinelli made 53 appearances in all competitions last season and scored 11 goals as Arsenal won the Premier League title. So this isn't a player who has simply arrived at the club and failed to establish himself. Martinelli has been part of Arsenal's first-team squad throughout much of Arteta's managerial era. He has been an important player. He has scored important goals, he has contributed to Arsenal's success, and he has become a popular figure among supporters. That's why his current situation is attracting so much attention. Arsenal are reportedly open to offers for the Brazilian, and the club are looking to make at least one significant sale before the transfer window closes. Martinelli is considered one of Arsenal's most valuable potential departures, alongside players such as Gabriel Jesus and Fabio Vieira. But the situation is complicated. Martinelli reportedly wants a move to a major European club if he eventually leaves Arsenal. He has already turned down a move to Galatasaray. That tells you something about his ambitions. He doesn't simply want to leave Arsenal for the sake of leaving. If he is going to take the next step in his career, he wants to join a club where he believes he can compete at the highest level. And this is where the story becomes even more interesting. Former Arsenal striker Ian Wright has spoken publicly about Martinelli's situation, and Wright clearly believes the Brazilian deserves better treatment. Wright's argument is not necessarily that Arsenal must keep Martinelli forever. Instead, his concern is about how the situation is being handled. Martinelli has reportedly been left out of the squad without having a clear role, and Wright believes that after everything the winger has contributed to Arsenal, he deserves respect and clarity about his future. That is an important point. Football is a business. Players leave clubs, managers make difficult decisions, squads evolve. But communication is extremely important. If Arsenal have decided that Martinelli is no longer part of the long-term plan, then the player needs to understand exactly where he stands. And according to the information surrounding this situation, Arteta has spoken to Martinelli and explained his reasons for leaving him out. Arsenal, meanwhile, deny that the Brazilian is being deliberately frozen out. The club's explanation is that the competition for places has become extremely strong. And that's where we have to look at Arsenal's recruitment. The Gunners have added more quality to their attack. New signing Christos Tzolis impressed against Coventry. And there are other attacking options competing for places. So from Arsenal's perspective, this could simply be a football decision. But from Martinelli's perspective, it is understandable that he would want to know whether there is still a genuine pathway back into the starting lineup. That is the key question. Is Martinelli temporarily out of the team because of competition, or is Arsenal preparing for life without him? At the moment, we don't have a definitive answer, but with the transfer window still open, this is definitely a story to watch. Another important part of this story is Arsenal's transfer strategy. The club reportedly want to make at least one significant sale before the transfer window closes. That means Martinelli could become one of the biggest names available. Arsenal don't necessarily need to sell him. But if the right offer arrives, the club could decide that selling the Brazilian would help them reshape the squad. The same applies to Gabriel Jesus and Fabio Vieira. Arsenal are trying to build a squad capable of competing at the very top. That means difficult decisions have to be made. Players who were once regular starters can suddenly find themselves competing for minutes. And that's exactly what appears to be happening with Martinelli. But Arsenal have to be careful. If Martinelli leaves, they need to make sure they have enough quality and depth on the left side. A player with his pace, directness and ability to attack defenders is not easy to replace. So if Arsenal sell him, supporters will rightly ask, who is coming in to replace him? And that brings us perfectly to Arsenal's biggest attacking transfer story. Despite beginning the Premier League season with a 3-0 victory, Arsenal are still being linked with another major attacking signing. The club appear to be considering adding a top-level striker. And two names are dominating the conversation: Victor Osimhen and Julian Alvarez. These are two completely different profiles, but both would represent a major statement signing. Osimhen brings physical power, speed, aggression, and a proven goal-scoring record. Alvarez offers versatility, intelligent movement, technical quality, and the ability to contribute in multiple attacking positions. For Arsenal, the question is not simply which striker is better. The bigger question is, which striker fits Mikel Arteta's system better? That's what the Arsenal recruitment team has to determine. Let's start with Julian Alvarez. Reports indicate Arsenal are pushing for the Argentine forward, and if Arsenal were able to complete this deal, it would be one of the biggest attacking statements of the transfer window. Alvarez has already demonstrated that he can perform at the highest level. He can play as a central striker, he can operate behind the striker, he can move into wide areas, and importantly, he is comfortable combining with other attacking players. That versatility could be extremely attractive to Arteta. Imagine Arsenal having a front line where defenders cannot simply focus on one central striker. Alvarez can drop deeper, he can rotate positions, he can attack space, he can press, and he can finish. That kind of flexibility could give Arsenal another dimension. But there is a major obstacle. A player of Alvarez's level will not be easy to sign. Arsenal would need the player to be available and the financial conditions to make sense. So while the interest is significant, supporters should not treat this as a completed transfer. It remains a developing story. And then there is Victor Osimhen. The Nigerian striker has been one of the most talked about forwards in European football for several seasons. His profile is completely different from Alvarez. Osimhen is a powerful number 9. He attacks crosses, he runs behind defensive lines, he can physically dominate defenders, and he has the kind of presence that can change how an opposition defence approaches a game. For Arsenal, that could be extremely valuable. Imagine Arsenal having a striker who can occupy 2 centre-backs, attack balls into the box, and give the midfielders a clear target. It could create more space for players around him, and that's why Osimhen remains an attractive option. But again, this is not a completed transfer. Arsenal are considering their options, and the final decision could depend on price, availability, and Arteta's preferred profile. So Arsenal fans should keep an eye on both names, Alvarez and Osimhen. One could potentially become Arsenal's next major attacking statement. Now let's move to the defensive side. Arsenal have strengthened their defence with the arrival of Ezri Konsa from Aston Villa. The deal is reportedly worth around £55 million. This is a significant signing. Konsa brings Premier League experience, defensive intelligence, and versatility. And that is important, because Arsenal are entering another demanding season. They want to defend their Premier League title, they want to compete in Europe, and they want to challenge for trophies across multiple competitions. That requires depth. You cannot rely on the same 11 players for an entire season. Injuries, suspensions, fatigue and fixture congestion will all become factors. Konsa therefore gives Arteta another experienced option, and competition for places is exactly what top clubs need. Zolis has impressed. The club are considering another major attacking signing. Martinelli has been left out of the squad. Arsenal are willing to listen to offers, and Martinelli reportedly wants a top European destination if he leaves. This creates a very interesting situation. If Arsenal sign another elite attacker, Martinelli could find himself even further down the pecking order. At that point, a move could become increasingly likely. But if Arsenal do not sign another winger, and Martinelli remains at the club, there is still a possibility that he fights his way back into Arteta's plans. That's what makes the next few weeks so important. One thing is certain, Martinelli's Arsenal story is not finished yet. But whether the next chapter happens at the Emirates or somewhere else remains unclear. Mikel Arteta has also addressed the wider issue of established players potentially leaving the club. His message was very clear. Football careers have different stages. Players arrive, players develop, players become important, and eventually sometimes their time at a club comes to an end. Arteta stressed the importance of honesty, transparency, respect, and making football decisions. That statement is particularly interesting when viewed alongside Martinelli's situation. Arteta clearly understands that difficult conversations are part of managing a top club. And if Arsenal decide that Martinelli's time has come to an end, the manager wants that process handled properly. But from a football perspective, Arsenal must also make sure they are making the correct decision. Because Martinelli is only 25. He has Premier League experience. He has played at the highest level, and there is still plenty of potential for him to improve. Selling him could be financially beneficial, but losing him could also become a sporting risk if Arsenal don't replace his qualities. So what should Arsenal fans expect next? First, keep an eye on the striker market. Julian Alvarez and Victor Osimhen remain two major names connected with Arsenal's attacking plans. Second, watch the Martinelli situation. If a major European club makes a serious offer, Arsenal could have a decision to make. Third, monitor Bruno Guimaraes' injury. Arsenal will hope the midfielder returns quickly because the season is only beginning. And finally, watch Ezri Konsa's integration into the squad. The new defender gives Arteta another important option as Arsenal attempt to defend their Premier League crown. There is still plenty of time for the transfer window to change the picture completely. So Arsenal fans, there you have it. A 3-0 opening day victory has given the Gunners the perfect start on the pitch. But off the pitch, there are still major questions to answer. Gabriel Martinelli's future is uncertain. Ian Wright has questioned the way the situation is being handled. Ezri Konsa has arrived from Aston Villa. Bruno Guimaraes is dealing with a groin problem. And Arsenal are still considering a major attacking signing, with Julian Alvarez and Victor Osimhen among the biggest names being discussed. The biggest question of all is this: will Gabriel Martinelli still be an Arsenal player when the transfer window closes? And if he leaves, who should Arsenal sign to replace him? Would you choose Julian Alvarez? Would you choose Victor Osimhen? Or should Arsenal keep Martinelli and give him another opportunity to fight for his place? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next Arsenal update. There is still a lot to come before the transfer window closes, and you can be sure we'll be following every major development. Thank you for watching, Arsenal fans. Come on, you Gunners!